Hello, welcome to TrueHoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Happy to be back in my office, back home. Long couple of weeks. Busiest 2 weeks I'll have in a while, but glad to be back, Rod.
2 weeks on the road, away from the friendly confines of home. Now I do wonder this. Like, do you feel like as you're older, it's more of the longing for home? Like when you're younger, you're like, who cares? I'm away from home for 2 weeks. But as you're older, you're like, nah, I don't like being away from home that much.
It's funny you asked that because I spoke about it with my daughter. We were with her this weekend. To me, it's about routine. I like my routine. I probably gained 3.5 pounds while I was gone in 10 days because I couldn't swim. I started watching my sodium. It's very hard when you're traveling. I did get my walking in, but yeah, obviously, I miss my wife, of course. I miss my life here, but I don't really care about my dog too much. I had to tell Wilson this morning, buddy, I didn't miss you. I'm happy you're here. Happy you took care of mom, but I didn't miss you. But I miss my routine. Yeah, I like what I do each day. Luckily for me, I do enjoy spending time with players and studying film. And I went to Baylor's practice in Waco,
Mm-hmm.
Texas, and so that's cool to see college kids performing. And the coaches told me they were late coming to talk to me in the morning because they had been debating for an hour some defensive thing. That's my life growing up as an adult, is debating with people on certain philosophies regarding basketball and triple threat and how to attack a zone or whatever. So that part was great. Yeah. But yeah, I miss my routine. I'm back in my routine now, I'm happy to say.
Dog lovers out there, and me included, don't worry. David doesn't really hate
No,
Wilson.
I
That's
don't
just
hate him. He serves me. I don't serve him. Yeah. Despite him thinking the other way around.
He
Yeah.
serves me. I don't
Yeah.
serve him.
No, he really serves my wife, and like I came in, I probably finished my last call. I did a Zoom call by 11:15 last night. I came in the bedroom and he growled because I said, "What the hell?" And my wife woke her up and she said, "He just says he's not used to being around." So he heard something. He's like, "What the fuck?" And then he's like, "Oh, it's just you. It's okay." I like that. He don't fuck around. That's his job. That's his job.
Too funny. So David, the end of the Damian Lillard trade saga happened yesterday in that Jrue Holiday was moved from Portland to the Boston Celtics. The Blazers get Malcolm Brogdon, Rob Williams III, the Golden State Warriors 2024 first round pick, which I believe is top 4 protected, and a 2029 unprotected first round pick. So when you really look at it in totality, what the Dame trade did for Portland, they got quite the haul in terms of young players and draft capital with the swaps and the picks they got from Milwaukee as well. Not to mention, this is still ongoing, right? As you discussed a little bit on Thursday. If Ayton plays well, guess what they could do? Move him to somebody else for more stuff. And that is still part of the Damian Lillard trade, right? Or even Robert Williams or any of these other guys they got back now. So it's when you look at it in its totality, it's in a way it could be the gift that keeps on giving. But let's look at Boston in the Holiday trade. Okay, so Milwaukee did their thing. They got Jrue, they got Giannis, Pat Connaughton, Brooke Lopez. Who am I missing in the starting five?
For Pat, you said Pat. Did you say
Pat,
yeah?
Pat, Giannis, Brooke,
Damian Lillard.
Damian. Who's their fifth? Who's their fifth starter? Power forward. Whatever.
No, Chris Middleton.
Middleton. Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's a hell of a starting five. Boston also was a nice starting five. And you said something funny when we talked about the trade Thursday about depth. You're like, who gives a shit about your depth if your center sucks in relation to the Phoenix Suns? I got questions about Boston's depth now, but I mean, with their top five, pretty good. What say you?
Well, I want to make sure we double back to Portland a little bit because I think there's interesting things
Mm-hmm.
going on there. But Brad Stevens seems to agree with me that when your center sucks, although it's not that their center sucks, but they couldn't count on Robert Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and at least it seemed like it anyway.
Right.
I also think that they're gonna have. We're writing an article about this right now, where they're gonna develop some of their guys, hopefully, and give them a lot of playing time. Remember, it's always easier to play better when you're surrounded with good players. So they can mix in some of their younger players with that great, fivesome they have, 3 or 4 guys on the court at the same time, and get probably pretty productive play and pretty efficient play out of them. and they can start getting some reps with that and start building some confidence for their depth come postseason. So it's an interesting test to me where for whatever reason Phoenix felt like they had to get off Ayton,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
now they're deeper, but I just think there's a hole at the center spot.
mm-hmm,
Boston, it's not like Boston. We hope Porzingis is what we thought he would be. Well, if you're a Boston fan anyway, Horford is aged. Guy won a
mm-hmm,
championship I think '07 in college. It's a long
mm-hmm,
time ago, man. Long time ago. Um,
mm-hmm.
and he wasn't a freshman. I think but Boston must feel like our core is going to be so much better, and then Milwaukee, gave up some depth
They
to
sure did.
get a better five. So clearly they kind of agree with that too. I'm a big believer there's so much talent in the world, there's so much talent in the league. Uh, you got to develop it. You got to put guys in the right position, get their roles right, figure out how best to utilize them. Your stars have to figure it out too. But yeah, Boston's in theory they're starting five if you're bringing Horford off the bench, which I think they should. Is pretty dynamic and really going to be hard to score on.
Okay, so I mean, ultimately, we all, fans often make a big deal about who starts games, right? Which, I mean, to me, what matters is who plays the most minutes, what's your most minute played lineup, and who closes games, right? Who finishes? Who are the five you want on the floor to close out, especially in the playoffs? So right now, Porzingis at center, obviously. So you saying Tatum at the four,
Yeah.
full time, Jaylen Brown at three, because you want to start White and Jrue Holiday together in the backcourt.
Yeah, I was just on the phone with some people earlier about this. I just think that having 2 point guards, especially ones that are defensive minded like Derek and Jrue, can really pay off. And they've got Brown and Tatum,
Mm-hmm.
and Porzingis is a dynamic player when he's healthy. I do think it's interesting. I should add that it was just a couple years ago that a big key to Boston's run to the NBA Finals was the play of Robert Williams as a four defensively, or really just hiding him on the other team's worst offensive player and let him roam, and it was really effective. And now he's in Portland. This league, like what did Ferris Bueller say? Life comes at you fast. If you blink, you might miss it. Whatever
You
he
might
said.
miss it.
It's fast. It's fast. Robert Williams here today, gone tomorrow. Um, but yeah, I like if you are the Eastern Powers. Boston's got like four guys, not including their 7 footer, 7'2" guy
Right.
that
Right.
can
Who
make
can
it make it
guard?
make it
Yeah.
hard for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they've got enough help offensively where if one of them is really more focused defensively that particular night or series, they should make up for it. They do. They just can't play 48 minutes a game, and so this is where Missoula and I think Brad Stevens is thinking we got all season. Like we know we're going to make the playoffs. We got all season to figure out how we can best take advantage of O'Shea Brissett, Luke
Mm-hmm.
Cornett, or Sam Hauser, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yep.
Peyton Pritchard.
Peyton Pritchard. Yep.
Where do they fit in? They're going to start some because some of these guys are going to rest. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
they've got all season to figure that out,
Yeah.
and they should.
And this is the important part, right? And it's something that you advocate for, Henry does, I do, which is, we know who the name players are and they're important. But if you're not going to, you don't want to wear them out before the postseason, this is how you develop the rest of your guys so that when an injury happens, which it will at a critical time, you're not going, oh God, I don't know what OJ Brissett could do because I haven't seen him do anything all season. Well, you know now because you have a full body of work of having to work him in. But coaches are just so resistant to doing stuff like that. A guy like that makes a mistake. He's on the bench for 20 days. We don't see him again. And it's, and it ends up, I understand why coaches do it in the short term because they're so maniacal about winning every night, but it hurts you in the end, long term, right? If you're like, great, now my bench has got no one who I trust. Well, yeah, you had all season to build trust in the guy. You chose not to.
Well, especially in the case of Missoula, who got the job in strange circumstances to say the least. You'd like to think Brad Stevens has empowered him to and said, it's your team. So yeah, you're not getting fired. Do what Pat Riley did with Spo, supposedly when LeBron came. Figure stuff out, coach. We're going to lose some games in the process. I say in this piece we have coming out that their mantra for the season should be 52 is enough, meaning we don't have to win 58 plus games. Let's win 52 and figure this out. We'll be a 3 or 4 seed, but we'll be our best version of ourselves come April. as opposed to winning 58 plus, with Denver won 58 last year and were the champions, at the risk of maybe not developing the depth that we're almost surely going to need in the postseason. Not definitely, but almost surely.
Which is the same thing Milwaukee's got to do, right? They have to be thinking, get Brooke and Chris to the play. Well, Giannis too, to the playoffs healthy, right? Look, Brooke is 36, right? Well, and Dame, right? Middleton's coming off 2 straight injury-plagued seasons. Like, this idea that you're just going to run it out with these guys, and again, they have a new head coach dealing with, in Adrian Griffin. He'll have some help, of course, having Terry Stotts as his lead guy, but it's his first year, and you know this. You say this all the time, David. Adrian Griffin is not going to be as worse as a head coach as he's going to be right now, right? And you just don't know what you're doing on day one. Hopefully he'll get better throughout the season and in years to come. And it's tough in that scenario, like in Boston, because these guys and their teams are like, well, we're in win now mode. We're good enough to win a championship this year. So it's you've got these competing priorities in terms of like where someone's development is as a coach versus what we have on tap to win a championship. And that's why they pay these guys millions of dollars, right? To figure this stuff out and be good at it.
Yeah, but there's nothing more important than delivering those stars and your key players to the postseason.
Correct.
Yeah, it's it's ironic, right? It's ironic that the NBA has passed a rule demanding these same players that we so desperately need, the team so desperately need for the postseason, play enough games in the regular season, both to qualify for trophies and awards and also to not get fined. And it's ironic. It's literally the opposite of what the definition should be. You know, it's weird. But so now let's talk real Portland. There's something interesting about Portland. They've got Ayton and Robert Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you play them together? Sure. Although Ayton maybe isn't the shooter that Horford was, because that's at least a space problem. Boston
at least not from 3, right? Yeah,
correct. Mm-hmm. Maybe he can shoot the 3, and maybe he will, and maybe they'll play together. But both guys can play their way into a trade, which gets Portland even more riches. Or, and this is what I find interesting, it's possible, because we've not heard this, I thought it was in Portland, I would ask the GM there, was this an intentional to just try to get valuable players to trade again? Or my contention is, if I've got Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot, and even to a lesser degree Anthony Simons, who's played for a few years longer, it's easier to hold them accountable defensively when for 48 minutes a game you should have a decent center on defense. No. It's hard to really lock in defensively into your assignment and everything when you execute everything right. There's no one at the rim to help you there. They don't have that excuse. They've got 2 guys that know what they're doing defensively. In some case, Robert Williams was a key to a best team in the league, I thought. And so that'll be we'll see how Scoot and Shaedon and the young group do, knowing they've got real centers behind them, compared to a couple years Toronto before they had Pirtle. They didn't really have if you got beat on the wing because you're denying that they really play up tempo and try to get past the lane, you're screwed. They had no one to protect.
Yeah,
and Portland doesn't have that issue. So it might be something that we see other teams copy if it's successful. If all of a sudden Scoot and Sharpe defy expectations, especially Sharpe, and start looking like they're playing defense and have good metrics and all that, you might see other rebuilding teams say, let's get solid centers. Obviously, Aiden's making a lot of money, but let's get solid centers in place and kind of have that foundation for us to build our young guys' defensive attributes, defensive mindset, and disposition.
And I think for a head coach like Chauncey in Portland, that's what he wants, right? The key for him will be getting a young guy like Scoot to buy in on that on the floor, because as moving Dame, the ball's going to be in your hands all the time. So offense and getting yours, quote unquote, isn't going to be a problem. But if you can get early Scoot to buy in on guarding on that end, and with Shaedon Sharpe, that I think will again help Portland, not this year because they'll still be relatively bad. Although if their defense all of a sudden goes from 28th to 29th, which it was last year, to 20th, right, this year because of the centers, that's a huge leap for them, right? And that then makes them they're not going to do anything in terms of like making the playoffs, but that's a fun little group to look at now.
Yeah, you don't want to get in a situation where, okay, guys, it's been 3 years, now let's play some defense. Right. That's not ideal. The ideal situation is from when the case of Scoot day 1, in the case of Sharpe, day 366 in a sense, you had 1 year already. Let's start recognizing that we have to be 2-way players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at our champions over the past. Denver made progress defensively,
Mm-hmm.
but they have an outlier. They've got the world's best offensive player, basically, and
Mm-hmm.
world's best overall player in Jokic. Normally, you got to have a better defense. Milwaukee had a good defense. Miami is always
Mm-hmm.
there. The Warriors,
Golden
obviously.
State. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you want to start establishing that mentality right away. You'd like to anyway.
And, if for as much as Aiton's maligned, Aiton can say, look, I was anchoring a defense of a finals team that was up 2-0 in the NBA finals, right? Like that is, and he understands what it takes to play at that level. I mean, as much as he gets killed now, guys, Phoenix and Chris Paul is excellent. We know we love to point out on this podcast. Phoenix does not make that finals run without Aiton playing the defense he was playing that season. Like that was critical to them being what they were. All right, so we talked about Phoenix. We talked about Milwaukee's top 5. We talked about Boston's 5 now as a result of these trades, and it kind of made me think about the best starting 5 units in the league. And I just did like a random bullet of all the teams, and I kind of looked at net rating, right? Because that kind of tells you a little bit of something, who's what. And so I threw out these starting 5s. Let's start with the defending champs, Nuggets. I mean, got Nikola Jokic, obviously, who starts everything. Murray, KCP, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. I mean, that's a hell of a starting 5, coach.
Obviously, yeah, they've got offensive players, defensive players, shooters, scorers, passers, and they have a ring now. Yeah,
And Jokic.
well, and the world's best player. So they have a ring that I think solidifies their belief that okay, the system clearly is what we hoped it would be. It delivered a championship. When you have the world's best player, you should have at least one championship, and especially in our sport. NFL is a little different. Baseball is different. There's just such different sports. This sport, if you have that guy, you should. And we normally our best players, with our exceptions, when
Yes.
like for example, Barkley was close to being the best player in the
Close.
world, but he wasn't there. Grant Hill was close, wasn't there. Um,
Right.
and on and on. So yeah, that's a very good starting 5. I kind of like a couple of the Western starting
Yeah.
5s over Boston and Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
one
agree.
of them.
And let's start with another Western team, the Golden State Warriors. Now, their starting 5 will be in a little bit of jeopardy to start the season. Draymond Green sprained his ankle in 5-on-5 work at the facility last week. He'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. They're saying it's not a high ankle sprain, which is good, but he's not 20. He's 30, whatever he is, right? So that's going to take some time to heal itself. But that starting 5, when it is intact, you talk about having a ring. Well, this group has 4. And all the...
Wasn't there no rating? Wasn't it like
Yes,
the highest of all the starters?
The best.
Yeah.
And so when you have Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and our favorite player, Kevon Looney, that's just they just know what they're doing on not just offensively, defensively. They know what they're doing on both ends of the floor, and that's a tough starting 5 as well.
Well, I don't remember if it was an article or a podcast we did recently, but I speculated that Kevon Looney can grow his game. Maybe I think it might be our show. Maybe KD could be making a resurgence a little bit, and this Draymond Green injury gives him a chance to do just that. Obviously that wasn't the design. I'll be anxiously watching. I don't know Kevon. I'm a big fan of his, and if he can kind of grow his game after proving, first of all, good role player, a little injury prone. Well, last 2 years, the only games he's missed?
None.
0. Yeah. So you prove that, Kevon. Now, armed with that, let's just see if he can, become a 14-point per game scorer in Draymond's absence.
Huge for them.
In Draymond's absence, knock in some threes, which I have no idea if he can do. We know he can handle it and pass for a big guy. Yeah, that becomes interesting for them. And Gary Payton, does he get more playing time? I would think he'll start. They'll have to probably start with Kuminga.
Right. So I was going to say that Draymond injury now opens up an opportunity for Jonathan Kuminga. The young guys wanted to roll. Well, one of you, it's probably going to be Kuminga, going to get that role. And he played a lot in the playoffs last year as well.
Yeah.
What does that look like now in year 2 for him or year 3 in Golden State?
Kuminga's in year 3 now.
Year 3. So, I mean, right, he's got to know the system by now. And now you know what your job is in terms of what Steph and what Clay you're doing. This should be a nice proving. And if he proves himself and Kerr's like, oh, you're doing the stuff now, that can buoy them going forward.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, another one of your favorite teams out west, the Lakers. So AD, LeBron, Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell in the backcourt, and I'm assuming the other person starting will be Hachimura.
Could be. Oh yeah, Austin Reeves.
Well, yeah, Austin Reeves
In
and
the
D'Angelo
backcourt
starting
with
the guards.
D'Angelo.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. I mean, they could start Jarod Vanderbilt too if they wanted to save Hachimura
Defense.
to
Yeah, yeah.
score off the bench. Just because of LeBron and AD, I think they can make a run as a great starting five. D'Angelo is a good player. He's a winning
Mm-hmm.
player in terms of metrics in the regular season. Austin Reeves kind of looking to have another breakout, become an all-star level player. Yeah, they can have 3 all-stars on that group. Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Well, I didn't even
including
think about
2. AD should be an MVP candidate every year.
that.
Should
Correct.
be.
We discussed this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another starting five out west that is going to be hurt a little bit because they're going to be down their dynamic point guard is the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja will be gone for 25 games. They don't have Tyus Jones as that backup now playing, right? So it'll be Marcus Smart, I would assume, handling more of that responsibility with Desmond Bane as the other guard there, and then of course they've got Jaren and Steven Adams. I wonder, David, the Brandon Clark injury happened last year. We'll see where he's at. Does Memphis kind of, with these injuries that, maybe no one thought about really, and then they had a disappointing end of the season, that's going to kind of hurt their starting five a little bit. But as we always talk about opportunity, it gives them an opportunity to figure out, okay, David Roddy, you did some nice things last year. What are you? Kennedy Chandler, Lofton, who you like a lot. You're like, are you going to get your body right to be a real NBA player, or are you just going to be some fun, novel guy that we see hanging out?
Yeah, I saw their small forward position. That's Zaire Williams, who I liked as a talent coming out of
Yes.
Stanford, I think, did not make progress last year.
No.
Roddy looks like he could play the part. Got to shoot well, got to defend. He's a big, strong guy. Bane obviously is terrific. With Ja back, unless they go small with Ja, Smart, and Bane with the 2 bigs, you've got to find a small forward that can play. They're a little deeper than some of the other opponents they have. And the injury to Ja, the suspension of Ja will give other guys a chance to grow. I want to see how Steven Adams returns. He was hurt for a lot last year. I have not read about what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen what he's doing yet either. Clippers starting five. I mean, it's all about Kawhi and PG being healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then are they going to do the deal for James? Those 2 plus James and Zubac
lethal.
Obviously inside is yeah. And then who else they play? I don't know, but play Terrence Mann at the guard spot and let
Well, if they get James, they probably ain't going to have Terrence Mann.
Probably not, but I wouldn't say that's definite. But probably not. And I don't know that Daryl. Just a guess here, Jarod. I think Daryl likes to kind of put fly in the ointment, so to speak. He may already know I'm not going to get better offer than what I'm getting now, but I'm not in a rush. I'm not, if it's a battle of who can be uncomfortable more readily, Daryl's going to be undefeated.
Yeah.
Daryl's going to be undefeated, and which is a good place to be for a GM. It's a good place to be for a GM. You shouldn't be distracted by what fans are bitching about or what the media is saying.
And we'll get to Daryl and James in a second. I was looking at finally an East team that can finally break into here. They were number 1 or number 2 in adjusted net rating almost all of last year. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Their starting five is really good. Jarrett Allen had a disappointing postseason. The team in general, right, being so good and not winning a playoff series last year, hopefully that got them into the offseason feeling like, okay, we did some nice things, but we didn't quite accomplish what we wanted to. Maybe we'll see some growth. We know Okoro's key, right? Like, can he start shooting again, right? They picked up Georges Niang. They picked up Max Strus, right? So they got guys who can shoot and do some things now. That starting five will be interesting in Cleveland.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to trade Jarrett Allen. It's something I'm considering in an article I'm writing. And also, are they not going to trade Donovan Mitchell?
Because they don't think they'll resign him.
Yeah, I mean that's coming. That conversation is coming. So when I look at that starting five, I can't ignore that. If Donovan said, "Guys, I'm here. We're good,"
right?
That's a hell of a starting five. Isaac Okoro is, I think, underrated. I think that he's been like 35, 36% from 3. He's like 21, 22 years old. He's young. He came out young, plus defender.
Very plus defender.
And may not even start for them. So yeah, they're that starting five is definitely very good if Donovan's totally bought in because it's a little bit unique. 2 point guards, two centers.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Mm-hmm.
that. I like that they zig a little bit when
Yeah.
it was that, you know.
Yeah. The other two teams are Western Conference teams. I like the starting five: Kings and Pelicans. Right. Kings had a huge jump last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
De'Aaron Fox was so good. Sabonis they re-upped on. And the Pelicans, as we said, it's all about Zion. The Trey Murphy thing's gonna hurt them for 12 weeks. Like not having him is gonna hurt them. But if Zion is who Zion is when he's healthy, it may not matter. They may be fine.
A
Maybe hang
very
on.
good starting five with healthy Zion and when Trey's back, or if they want to go defense with Herb Jones.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
CJ's a crafty player and heady scorer, productive scorer, pretty efficient scorer. Yeah, their depth will be an issue some as a contender, but as a starting five, I mean, we
Yeah.
talked this recently. They were in the new year last year. They were number one seed in the
Number
West.
one. Yeah. So the point being, with all this guys, that they're just, the starting fives around the league are very good, and it's what we've talked about for a long time. The talent in the league has not been as great as it is right now. There's so much talent all over the place. So we have really good teams. The question now is who's going to avoid injury, bad injury luck, and who's going to coalesce. What player that we don't know is going to make a huge leap, and now that makes that team so much better, right? This is what makes the season fun. We'll look forward to watching that.
Where do you have Phoenix?
So I didn't put Phoenix out only because
It's on the document.
I like Phoenix because look, anything that starts with Durant, Booker, and Beal, that top three is better than almost anybody else's top three.
Right.
So
as a trio, there's not many.
but they got worse at the five position, as we talked about, right? Older and worse. And then who is that three next to Durant at the forward spot? Is it Josh Okogie? Is it I don't even know. Like, right? Who's gonna play? Is it Katana Bates Diop? Like, who's that guy playing the three next to KD, who can guard and who can hit 38% of their catch and shoot threes?
No, exactly. That's and who's the organizing principal? Beal and Booker. It's not their specialty. Doesn't
Not
mean
their
they can't do
specialty.
it. Doesn't mean they can't do it. They could run a Denver look with KD and
Mm-hmm.
Jokic's spot pretty easily,
Mm-hmm.
at least
Mm-hmm.
for part of their half court sets. Jamal Murray's a decent organizer. It's not his specialty either. He's a scorer. So it worked for Denver just fine. So yeah, Phoenix deserves mention because of those big three.
Yes.
The other two, aren't quite the same fit.
Yeah. I think, look, had the Ayton trade not happened with those 3 and 8, I'd have been like, oh no, that's right up there. Because look, everyone's down on Ayton, and I understand all that, but the dude's good, man, and he's
not worth right. He's not worth the contract he got.
Correct.
Doesn't make him a bad player.
Correct.
He's not a bad player. No, I agree.
Correct. So we'll see what happens there. All right, guys, we'll be back after a brief commercial break. All right, Dave. We talked about this a little bit when we mentioned Philly, and what could potentially happen with James. Today is media day across the NBA, so all the teams are doing their, we're gonna play great. It's like the first day of school. Everybody's happy. Like everything's wonderful. Woo! We love everybody. Yeah. See how you feel like at 5:00 tonight. But that's where we are right now. James is not in Philadelphia for media day, so which not surprising, right?
I'm surprised.
Oh, didn't surprise me.
I thought he'd be there and to make things uncomfortable.
Oh, you thought he'd just start saying bad stuff,
or just show up and just kind of be a malcontent and
not answer questions, one-word answers, that kind of thing.
Whatever, right? I thought he would do that.
Yeah. So James did not show up. Daryl talked briefly in his availability about he still likes James. He's like, it's sad that their relationship has evolved to this point. That James thought that calling him a liar and doing all that stuff was the way to handle this. I mean, I agree. I always just wonder, for a player to do that publicly and to call someone a liar like that to me says, well, Daryl, you're not giving us the full side. Something didn't happen right with you two. What it is, I don't know. We may never know in terms of reporting, but something went wrong with you two. And it's not great. We talked about that Daryl is the master of being uncomfortable and is fine with all that. Yeah, I'm sure he is, and that's cool. Is Joel comfortable with being uncomfortable? He may not like it, because remember, guys, if let's say Harden decides I'm not showing up for training camp or whatever, well, that's an empty hole now on your team. It isn't like you can be like, oh, let me just go find some other all-star guard to just fill the role here. No, he's under. You can't just fill that spot. That's an empty roster spot now for a starter who was very good last year. Should have been an all-star. He was very good last year. And I can't say I blame him for the Sixers losing in the playoffs last year. He had some really nice games. So that's the question. And does Embiid start getting testy? I don't know if you saw this, David. He was Joel was asked in his media availability today. Oh, so Boston and Milwaukee have kind of become the class of the conference. And Joel's like, who said they passed us? And it's like, well, Joel, they kind of did pass you, buddy. Like, but if he's already testy like that, and if Harden decides to hold this out and Daryl does his, well, not until we get the right deal, things can get real ugly and awkward. What last thing Daryl wants is James wanting out and Joel being a malcontent. That to me is too much to handle.
Or it's time to reset the team
and send them both out.
Yeah. I'm not.
Yeah, but we talked. You and I talked about this, and that's not a bad idea.
No, I that this team isn't ready to compete without James, without get Jrue Holiday there. Got to be David. He ain't coming. Right, Damian ain't coming. So Malcolm Brogdon, not the answer. Not enough.
Nope.
Maxey coming is important.
Mm-hmm.
They lost some good players too. He's a good shooter. He was an important player for them. So Shake Milton's gone. Yeah, I learned a lesson a long time ago, Jarod. I have younger brothers who are much smarter than me. And when we were playing poker once, now we have been drinking a lot, but they play a lot more poker than I do. At this point, I wasn't playing at all. They were playing a good amount. And we were playing a game I never played before. It wasn't typical Texas Hold'em. It was some other game that one of my cousins in Austin said we should do. And I didn't understand the rules, and I thought I had like the nuts. Like you couldn't beat me. And so I just kept raising, and to my brother, with my brother Mike, the one that's a radiologist, I remember thinking like you shouldn't get into a pissing match for that dude. What am I doing? And sure enough, he put his cards on. I'm like, oh, I won. Then I put mine on. I realized, oh, I didn't understand the rules. I lost. Of course, I lost. When you're going up against some people, so they just don't lose this kind of stuff. So we'll see how the transactions go. Daryl is really good at what he does. Great evaluator of talent, very hard negotiator. To me, the biggest picture is it shouldn't have had to come to this. You dealt with the Ben Simmons things, and I don't just blame Daryl. I don't just blame James Harden. The end result is there was something happened. I have a feeling we know what happened, and and so because of it, James Harden, who still should be a really good player, really good player, all-star level player, all-NBA potential performer this season, and he's stuck not being able to come to camp. Like the league is working hard to make sure their stars play 65 games. Here we have one of our most attractive stars not even come to media day. That's a loss for the league.
Correct. I think you're dead on there. So let's just say let's play this out, David. Let's say that Daryl decides, all right, you know what? Again, Embiid coming off an MVP season, given his injury history, we don't know how many more peak seasons this dude has left. Talk about if you're looking at it like a stock, high, right? He's at maybe his apex right here.
Yeah.
Sell now, right? Because this is how you recoup. Of course, the Knicks.
I think eventually he's going to get traded.
I think you're right. The Knicks, of course, are an attractive team that everybody's that has their eyes on. They've been well managed for the last few years. They have a lot of draft capital. They don't have any bad contracts. Like they're good salary cap space.
Maybe one.
Oh, the Julius Randle deal. You think?
Maybe two.
Or Fournier?
Maybe three.
Who else? Who was the bad deal? RJ, you think?
RJ Barrett isn't worth that money yet.
RJ.
He's young, 23 years old.
He's very young.
Absolutely can play his way into it, but he hasn't. He's had one good season and three.
And we talked about this during summer about FIBA World Cup, and you're just like, look, you and I don't like to give up on players under the age of 25 because we're like, this is. But he just hasn't shown look, it's not even about like the huge leap, but it's like, dude, you're still not finishing well around the rim. What's going on with the shooting? Like, it's just not all something's not right. Maybe we always talk about it, right? Change the scenery, royal jelly somewhere else. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, this is who he is.
He's on my list. I have 62 players that I went through the league today that I think are tradable to help a team contend or have value to trade out. They're not good yet to get a
Mm-hmm.
better player in. And he's on my list
Mm-hmm.
of 62. Someone might feel like we can get way more at him than New York is getting and trade for him.
So Barrett's like a 2-3, right? That's his position. Do you think, because of the timeline and what they got going on there, does he fit in San Antonio?
That's a great question. I don't know that they want to take on that money.
The money.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I don't know that they do because he just, you don't want to take that contract. Typically, timeline is fine. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
23.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a power wing for sure. He's a power wing.
Mm-hmm.
They have one of those in Keldon Johnson, different kind of
They
play, but
do.
not that different.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's that's an interesting thing, Jarod. I hadn't thought about San Antonio, but you can get away with non-shooters at the perimeter positions when you have a guy like Victor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's going to be, I think, a very good shooter. And I was in San Antonio recently, as you know.
Yep.
I'm hearing good things. Like,
Oh wow.
as one player said to me, maybe he blocks 5 shots a game this year,
I love it.
and he's
I love
stroking
it.
it from three. They said stroking it.
And the reason why I liked RJ going there, again, don't know if money works, all that. Victor, because he is the number one pick in the generational, that's all the oxygen is there. No one cares about you, RJ Barrett, which might be a good thing, right? So you don't have this number 3 pick to live up to. None of that. No. We don't care about any of that shit.
Yeah,
You got to just fill out and find a role here. That might be good for him because some of it may be him feeling pressure. I've got to be third pick level worthy because the 2 guys I got drafted ahead of me have already been all NBA and all stars in Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. So that could be a thing. I don't know. Just something.
for sure. Confidence is everything, Sherrod. Confidence is everything, and lots of things can play into that. And RJ just has not quite turned that corner
Mm-hmm.
and stayed around the corner.
Yeah.
He's had 2 years ago. He had a really good shooting year, and then we haven't seen it.
Yeah. But yeah, so and look, it's Joel Embiid, so a lot of teams will make themselves available for him, right? We'll figure out ways to, we got a chance to get this guy. Who can we move? And that would be something that if it, again, we're not saying it's going to happen this season, but if it did, wow, that would shake things up for sure. Okay. I talked about Draymond being out. He sprained his ankle 4-6 weeks. They have a couple players now. We're already seeing it before training camp start. But as you and I know,
Practicing.
most players they've been in town since the beginning of last month.
They're playing.
And they're playing 5-on-5. Damian Lee from the Suns, he's also hurt. Cam Johnson of the Nets, he's also hurt. All these guys got hurt doing this early playing, and it's this is the nature of this league, right?
Yeah.
And the sport. Like you're not able to avoid this stuff, and it's unfortunate that we're already having this situation happen now. And so my point is that like, so anyone still think we need to play 82 games a season or what?
Yeah, it's you'd like to start your team with everyone in camp. It sucks,
Right?
but it's just the nature.
Just day one, right? Everyone just be healthy on day one.
This is why I don't have my guys play 5-on-5 in the summer.
Yeah,
I don't play 5-on-5. Your chances of injury go up. Period. End of story. Compared to, I think I've had one player hurt his soft tissue in 21 years of doing this in the summer. Only Caspi took a red eye flight back from LA. I don't remember if it was a Jordan brand shoe, whatever, Nike, might have been a Nike thing. Took a red eye. These guys, they're committed players. They take the red eyes at Sunday night to make Monday morning practice. It's awesome. And I did not oversee his stretching. I normally, if the players, I trust them to do it. I just allot the time to do it. And he kind of shortchanged it. And he had a little soft tissue. He was out like 10 days. This was in September. It didn't matter. He was still at camp. But that's it. No broken bones or anything. One soft tissue injury in 21 years because I don't play 5-on-5. It's just you're not going to get hurt.
For that exact reason. And guys, for the average fan out there, the broken bones may sound like the bigger deal to you, but these soft tissue things, these are the things that linger all season long that lead to, now my Achilles is ruptured, right? Like this is the soft tissue stuff, the hammies, the calf, like this is the stuff that turns into disaster later because those are so hard to manage and heal. And It's just, it's just the nature of the beast. All right, David, we're going to continue our look ahead at the season and preview. And I thought it'd be cool to take a look at early MVP favorites. The last, let's see, I'm going to count off my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last 5 MVP awards that were handed out have gone to international players. Joel Embiid, who, by the way, Joel Embiid said during his media availability, he will decide in the coming days which of the 3 Olympic teams he will play for: Cameroon, France, or Team USA. Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be
I want him to go to France because I want to see all 7-footers on the floor because that'll be hilarious. Yeah. So we've had Jokic, obviously 1-2, Giannis 1-2 before him, and Joel Embiid 1 last year. Right? Those are the last 5 awards have gone to those 3 players. And if we look at the top 5 projected MVP candidates for this season, based on Las Vegas odds, we have Nikola Jokic up top, Luka Doncic number 2, Giannis number 3, Joel Embiid number 4, and the lone American and coming in at 5, Jason Tatum. And it's something I've been thinking about. We talked about this during the World Cup, that no longer is the guarantee that the USA will have the world's best player, right? I mean, we haven't had it in terms of MVP award, right, for the last few years. The depth is still better here. But it's interesting, right? When you look at just what they have as their projected, you have to get to Tatum, who's young still, 23, 4? No, probably 25 by now.
25 now, yeah.
He's got to be 25 by now. But young enough, right? But that's kind of where we are. If you remove all your old guys, so no Steph, no KD, LeBron, none of those, any American player over 26 out of this discussion. Tatum's like the first guy we come to before you get to someone who's like potentially worthy MVP. And now that they made that Jrue Holiday trade, they're going to win a decent amount of games. And Tatum, there's a stretch where Tatum played like the best player in the world. We've seen it. Can he do it for a whole season? I don't know. We'll see. But what are your early thoughts on MVP?
Well, I started writing an article. We'll finish it probably next week after some preseason games where I think Luka is the most likely candidate. And I'll give reasons for that. There are a few Americans that I think have the potential to get into the conversation beyond Tatum. I'll start with Anthony Davis, who still should be a tremendous player. And then I'll throw in 2 guards. It's unlikely either get to the top 5, but possible. One has been there before, Donovan Mitchell. If Cleveland is a top 3 team in the East, after where they went through last year, ends up being a 4 seed, and Donovan scoring 28 a night, it's possible. Leading, his charisma, I think he's a candidate. And then my secret candidate.
Ooh.
You want to take a guess? He's American.
No, just tell me. I just want to know.
De'Aaron Fox.
Oh.
Same as Donovan, putting up 28 a night. The Kings are, fighting for a 1st seed after being the 3 seed last year. He ends up being that guy. Of course, Zion Williamson always.
Of course.
If he's healthy, he's going to be a top 5 player probably. So, yeah, we don't have the best player in the world, but we have a good starting 5 of nothing but American players, not even mentioning LeBron.
Oh yeah. Well, we decided not to mention any of the old guys, but this is so interesting, David. I love it because I've been looking at all this and I'm like, okay, one of the number 1 stats that tell us who's going to be the MVP is win shares for 48. The person who is the leader at the end of the season in win shares for 48 has won it like 19 out of 20 times.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. The only year it didn't happen was Westbrook. But every other year, the person who's won it who's been number 1 has won it.
Harden was number 1 that year.
Oh yeah. KD was number 1 that year. No, KD was. That was year one in Golden State. Yep, year 1 in Golden State.
Wow.
KD was awesome that year. Did not even make 1st team All NBA that year. They punished him for going there. I will for sure believe that forever, which is silly, but is what it is. The other awesome stat is usually the MVP the last several years has been top 3, usually 1 or 2, sometimes top 5, sometimes 4th or 5th in estimated plus minus. That person has often been MVP. Obviously, Jokic was number 1 last year, didn't win it. Embiid was 2, but whatever. Giannis, all these guys. I like your Fox point. Fox, though, will have to make a major
defensive jump,
right? Huge to get up into that crew because I was looking at MVP EPM, and I was like, I mean, he's obviously a plus player, 93rd or 4th percentile, but 93rd percentile to 99th is
big
a
difference.
lot of way to go.
It's all defense for him. It's not just him. His team has to play a better job.
Yes,
Because no matter what you do defensively, if they end up scoring, it's going to be a knock on you. And
Correct.
so when you've got help, if play with Rudy Gobert, your numbers go up. Pretty simple.
Correct.
So yeah, they've got to figure some stuff out there. Yeah, without question.
But I like that pick. I love the Donovan pick too. I think again, team wise, they should have good team success.
Yeah.
Another name, he's not American, but a young guard, Canadian. If they make a trade and Oklahoma City finds their way up in that upper echelon, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will get some buzz because he's already top 12 in EPM. Actually, he might be top 10 already last year. Let me check that out.
No, for sure, he's a candidate. And I think they have a chance to do that. It's not a great chance. And I think Tyrese Halliburton has a chance to get some MVP votes.
Agreed.
They've got to win 41 plus games, which is possible. But Tyrese is a tremendous player.
Yeah, Shai was 11th last year in EPM, so right outside the top 10. And Halliburton wasn't too far behind him. Halliburton had an incredible year last year.
Yeah.
So good. Look, MVP is what's the story going to be? Who's going to be telling what story? What's happening? All that stuff's going to play into it, and it will be interesting to see what Indiana's a team. We've said they're going to be going for at least a plan, which they should.
I think so.
They're good enough, I think.
Yeah, if they don't trade Buddy and TJ McConnell, they'll be better. But they may trade him just for future, which makes sense to me. But they like I said, Tyrese is going to win the award. But he can get the top 5 if he puts together a great season again. And he plays 68 games, and they win, a good portion of those games.
Because had he played, because I think he missed not enough for if the rules applied last year. I think he just missed playing 65. I mean, his numbers had him borderline all NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, right? He was right on the outside. So yeah, all of that will be interesting to see how it plays out. All right, guys, we'll be back on Thursday. David, I think Thursday is the first preseason game.
Thursday.
Yes, Abu Dhabi. So actually, depending on what time, it might happen. I mean, going on while we're on the show, or it might.
I think it's 12 o'clock our time. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But for some reason,
I'll check that.
I think it's 8 hours ahead of
us.
Our time. Yeah, East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so we'll get our first glimpse, and then this weekend there'll be preseason games already. A lot of teams are after the media day today. They're getting on planes, flying to wherever they're going: Colorado, Vancouver, Vegas, whatever.
Right.
Which I kind of like. You're kind of out of the way a little bit. Let's just get in some good work.
Pacers are in Nashville. I read.
Yeah. Let's see what happens after they come out. Hopefully, some good stuff happens from there. All right, guys. We will see you on Thursday. Excuse me. Take care.